Doghouse Podcast is back. Week 1 of the college football season is upon us. Georgia has Marshall University coming to town. Got a great special two new guests. Got Rus and KD from the Thundercast.
It's a great day to be a part of the herd. I know that.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Trey. We are looking forward to talking a little bit of herd football. We can't get enough of that.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys coming on. We were able to connect over the college huddle. It's been a great college football community. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, share the Doghouse Podcast. Let's get this season started out with a lot of content. First big question for you guys is, I know got Tony Gibson coming from NC State. I believe he was the defense coordinator there. Thoughts on the new hire? And I know you guys had a great 2024 campaign, 10-3. But yeah, excited about the Tony Gibson era.
I think so. I think as we are defending Sun Belt Conference champions, like you mentioned, a really good season last year. And then all of the headlines that came along with the offseason, the coaching change, the portal, the whole nine. You know, I think anybody that followed college football, even casually, caught wind of some of the things that happened at Marshall. And even though those headlines were vastly incorrect, we, in fact, still have a team. But, yes, we hired Tony Gibson, formerly defensive coordinator at NC State, highly regarded defensive mind in all of college football, been on the short list for a number of jobs to get that first head coaching job. And we're the ones that are ultimately able to give him that opportunity. And I don't think the fan base could be happier about it for a number of reasons. He's a West Virginia native. He's got big ties here. And he's just a great football coach. And one thing you'll hear if you spend any time perusing the social medias, at least if you had been, you would get the vibe that the herd belongs to the herd again. You know, we feel like the team is kind of ours again. And that's the way it's supposed to be in Huntington, West Virginia. You know what I mean? We are a little bit unique in that sense. Yeah, we're a true college town. We're not a big city. And the herd, it has a story unlike anybody else, which is well documented, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners will know about. But it felt like it didn't fully belong to us, and now it feels like it belongs to the fans again. And that's a vibe that has to stay in Huntington, West Virginia, for the fans to be as happy as they possibly could be. We want to win a lot of football games too, and I think we will. But it all starts with that fan support, which is really great in Huntington. And feeling a little bit closer to the program over these past few months back to the spring. It's a different vibe in Huntington right now, and I think everybody's here for it.
It's good, man. How about your thoughts on Tony Gibson, Russ?
Love to see him here. He's a West Virginia guy, Southern West Virginia at that, which is where I'm from. I still live in Huntington. Van, West Virginia, where he's from, is roughly an hour and a half away. He cut his teeth here coaching high school ball and then lower level college ball at Glenville State. And then he went on to WVU to coach there and has been a highly sought after, highly thought of defensive coordinator, as KD mentioned, for a long time. And when he came in, he brought in some very familiar to the state faces to help shore up this coaching unit. And then it's got a lot of West Virginia flavor on both sides of the ball for the players as well. So as KD mentioned, the fans are excited. We are excited to enter this new era.
Awesome. Sounds like a great Marshall guy, and he's got a lot of ties to the program, so that's always a good thing. So to let introduce Georgia fans to the Marshall team, I know you guys had Russ humbled me on previous podcasts that you guys had 60, 70 transfer. We'll just say a whole restructure, and I think it's even been hard for Georgia coaches or any of the analysts to get any kind of film. Can maybe tell us a little bit about the quarterback and maybe some strength and weaknesses from what you know for Marshall entering this opening game?
Yeah, sure. We did have – that's one of the things I alluded to earlier is if you've been paying attention to the headlines, right around bowl season, the beginning of bowl season, Marshall was supposed to go play in the Independence Bowl. We had to back out because of the massive losses to the transfer portal. We didn't have enough players to safely field a team. And we got some backlash for that. They thought that was a really bad look. And when you don't really have a choice, like you don't have enough players to safely play, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You can't trot out kids out there and put them in an environment where they, might not come out in one piece. And it sucked. We wanted to go play that game too. So yeah, that there was a huge hole to fill all across the roster. And Tony Gibson was hired in December and was tasked with not only piecing together a staff in short order, but rebuilding a roster that could be competitive in the Sun Belt Conference and as a whole in 2025. And they went out and, in my opinion, dominated the portal in the time that they had. They have pieced together a team that many of the national writers that we know that respectfully, national writers are going to pay a lot more attention to a team like Georgia than they are a team like Marshall. But we feel like they went out and built a team that can compete for another championship in the Sun Belt. You and I and our teams operate in two vastly different worlds in college football. You guys are a SEC blue blood school that's a perennial playoff team. It's playoff or bust, right? And we are a mid-major team that would love to get the crack at the playoff. But in order to do that, we have to run the table, and not only run the table, but probably win pretty convincingly. But they went out and assembled a roster. I think we can do that. Now, you asked about the quarterback. We're not sure who the quarterback's going to be going into week 1 against Georgia. They hit the portal and brought in 2 guys, Carlos Del Rio Wilson, one-time Florida commit, off to Syracuse, transfers to Marshall. Then Zion Turner, one-time starting quarterback for the UConn Huskies, transfers to Jacksonville State, wins a Conference USA championship as a backup quarterback with now Herd OC Rod Smith. And the third guy you're really going to want to know about is local guy from Hurricane, West Virginia, who's been on our roster, committed to the Herd out of high school, legacy player. Dad played at Marshall. This is Ja'Kai Long. So we're not sure who of those 3 guys is going to trot out and take the first snaps against Georgia. Russ and I think it could be just as easily Carlos Del Rio Wilson as it could be Ja'Kai Long. They're keeping that pretty close to the vest. But what I can tell you is all these guys are true dual threat guys, right? So you're going to have to you're not going to have a drop back passer. You're going to have to respect the legs of all 3 of these guys, no matter who trots out there. I think the real strength of this offensive unit is going to lie in the running back room because of the type of offense that they like to run. It's going to be a run first spread offense. A lot of the guys around the program are calling it a run raid. And I think that's a pretty cool term for an offense, right? We've all heard of the air raid. I've never once heard the run raid, but I've been hearing that out of several players' mouths and post-practice interviews and things like that. So there's a lot of talent here, but the big question is how are they going to gel, and how are they going to stack up against a Georgia defense that is by far going to be the toughest unit that will play all year long, right? We went through the same thing last year. We faced Ohio State up in Columbus. It was the toughest unit we were going to face all year long. And I think they played pretty well. Georgia's the same story. We'll not face anybody else after week 1 that's going to come close to that level of talent at every single position that Georgia's going to bring to the table. So we're hopeful that we can make some plays and make some strides and show some things, but we're also, pretty level-headed about what we think we'll see and who we think we'll see play. I think we'll see multiple quarterbacks play, right? So I don't really know what to give you because there's not really a lot out there.
Right. Yeah, I see Ja'Kai Long getting the start, and then seeing definitely Carlos Del Rio Wilson at some point, and possibly Zion Turner as well. Maybe all 3 quarterbacks that are 1 through 3 on the depth chart. But I see Long coming out first. He's come on a long way just over the past 3 weeks, month in fall camp. He started out 3rd string and now is probably going to start, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Also, real quick, just because you said that, I'm going to go to an old cliche question. So if there's not really a named starter, does that mean, there's not really a starter, as they say. You got 2-3 quarterbacks. Do you really have one? And what would you like to see? I feel like even from a Georgia fan, Kirby's never been one. Garner Stockton's the man, even though everybody knows who's going to be taking the majority of snaps. So kind of want to go back. Do you think it's good to name a guy coming in so the locker room can kind of get behind him, or is it from a Georgia side is like, all right, we don't know who's going to play, so we don't know who to game plan for?
My unique perspective on this is that they may know exactly where somebody is right now that's over somebody else. But this game, realistically, Marshall has been given a 2.7% chance by ESPN matchup predictor, as we talked earlier. This particular game, I don't think it matters. I think that they want to look at several different people during game time. I don't think that we're going to have a rotating quarterback all season long. Mm-hmm. So I think this game, and then you go into the rest of the out of conference, settling into the conference slate, you'll know who is your best quarterback in actual game time, not just practice. And so I don't think this is a situation. I think they want to prepare to have a good backup in case there's somebody that gets injured or someone due to poor performance needs to be replaced. But ultimately, I think right now they have a clear, this is the person that is number one. This is a person that's number two. This is a person that's number three. But let's get them all some experience to see if we're right and to prepare somebody else in case we're wrong.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, this game is the outlier because nobody else is going to bring what Georgia's bringing, right? On either side of it, and actually in all three phases. Nobody's going to bring that full complement of talent across the board for the remainder of our schedule. We're going to play good teams. We're going to play good players, but nobody is going to bring it like Georgia's going to bring it all game long, no matter what phase is on the field. So this is an excellent opportunity to give some guys a little bit of trial by fire to see how they respond in those type of environments. I mean, we're going to go down and play between the hedges. We're going to play in some pretty intimidating environments. Nothing is also going to stack up to that environment, in Athens, Georgia. So this is a great opportunity for coaches to see what their guys are made of a little bit, see who's got the moxie, see who responds and who struggles in those type of environments. Because as you know, environments like this, they pay big dividends at the end of a season when games are on the line and you need a win and you have to make a play, and you might turn to the guy that responded well in those environments before. So if this is not a scenario, I don't want to give the idea that we're just there to play and collect a check. They're going to go down to try to win a football game, but they also need to know what they're playing with, in certain scenarios. So we've been pretty fortunate to play some big games here recently and had some pretty good success in those games. And, you sneak up and you get I won't say you snuck up on Notre Dame and got a win. We went to South Bend and we're the better team that day. But just in those 3 years since that happened, like Russ and I were saying the other day, college football is a completely different sport, completely different than it was in 2022. So going down and you look at the fact that Marshall's a 2.7% chance to win. It's roughly a 40% or a 40-point underdog going into the game. Those are some big freaking numbers, man. So you have to curb your expectation and hope you play well. You come out relatively healthy, but you're still going in to win a game. I mean, what happens if you go in and Georgia can't hold on to the football, and you find yourself 5-6 turnovers in and you're in a tooth and nail game there in midway through the fourth quarter. And, you can't just pack it in and be like, well, we gave it a good go, guys. You got to go down and try to finish that bad boy. And you need to know who the hell you're playing with that can try to finish that off for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely respect that. I appreciate that. Before we get into the prediction, going to look at a preview coming up. Want to give a shout out to our great sponsor. Returning again, VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. 0 carbs, 0 sugar. It was great during the pool season. Got tailgates coming up. Also good for a round of golf. Personal favorite is the watermelon. And if you can get the hot flavor coconut, which is sells out a lot. Also, they are the seltzer #1 provider for the Boston Bruins, if you're a hockey fan up on the East Coast. But for 20% off, Dawghouse 20. Again, that's Dawghouse 20 for 20% off. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com, also on Instagram and their growing YouTube channel as well. Check them out. Going to look at the preview here, and no, Russ gave him that 2% chance, which
I didn't give him. ESPN gave it. I just passed it along. I'm up around 90%, Marshall. Actually,
there it is. I mean, they don't even have the guys updated yet, if that tells you anything. So 97.3%, 39-point spread. I know Russ and I preview this on the other podcast. You can check out Thundercast on YouTube. We'll give them a shout out here in a little bit. But I thought personally, coming off 10 wins, and I know you guys had a complete roster restructure, I think this is an aggressive 39.5. And Georgia has been very bad recently at covering the spread. This being at home, I could see you guys popping a quick one, making this interesting just because you have no film, and Kirby Smart in the defense sits back and tries to download, and they're bad started. I think 2 years ago they were letting, I think there was a stat, 7-8 straight games where the team scored a touchdown on the opening drive. So I could see you guys popping one, making this game real close in the first quarter or two. But what are you guys kind of looking for, and maybe even a prediction or score prediction? 39.5-point spread, which is to me pretty big for at home Athens. 31 straight home games, but still, it is the opening game. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Hopefully, a lot will happen, and I hope a lot of those good things happen to the guys wearing green. You know, we, like I mentioned last year, we went up to Columbus, Ohio, and we're giving them the a pretty decent game for a while. And then came I'm not saying this is what turned the tide of the game, but here came the unfortunate penalty flag, and it really took the wind out of the sails of the herd, and it was, I don't know, I'm not going to get into it. You can go back and watch the call if you feel like it, but we had them there for a minute. We had them on the ropes. They were kind of like, oh my God, who are these guys, right? And I'm hoping to see a little bit of that this year. At least come out and give me a strong showing. Like I said, come out relatively healthy, and if we can cover, that'd be great. I mean, to me, I've always felt like if you go down and you get beaten somewhere by more than 28, like that's kind of a pretty bad beating, So, but to get that 39-point spread, that kind of sucks. Is Georgia capable of doing that? Yeah, and more, right? Because you're talking about a top 3, top 5 team, and a team that everybody before we've even played a game has written off. Everybody's written off Marshall. They're not going to be any good. Russ and I have seen prognostications anywhere from winless to 2 wins and 3 wins. And I'm like, that ain't how they play football in Huntington, West Virginia. We've had 1 3-win season in the last decade, and the wheels completely came off in that season. It was horrible. And even in the last coaching change, they went to a bowl game. And there are places where you can go and win, right? For whatever reason, they just win there through coaching change, through transfer, through whatever. Marshall's one of those places. You just go and you can continually win. We have a pretty strong pedigree. We're a very, very respected brand amongst G5s and mid-majors. Right? We've won a lot of games and a lot of championships, and we don't take that lightly. There's an expectation in Huntington. We do not want to go down and get absolutely embarrassed in Athens, Georgia. We've been down there once before. I don't know if you remember that game. It was quite a while ago, the early 2000s, when a guy by the name of Byron Leftwich was the quarterback at Marshall University. And we played him pretty tight. I'd go back and check the box score on that one. I'd be like, wow, that was a different era of football. It was. This one could get out of hand quickly, and I'll tell you where it worries me is if we're running this up-tempo offense, and if you're not stringing together first downs, you're 3 and outing pretty quick, or you're drive stalling pretty quick, and you need to get your defense on the field, and they get tired pretty quick. So you're going to have to be able to move the ball consistently. Otherwise, it can get pretty ugly. What I'm hoping to see is some good offensive movement, some yardage, some points, like something that shows us that this can work against the best in the country. Because at that point, I think you put a lot of confidence in your players and your staff and your fans to go, we can go toe-to-toe with anybody. This isn't a 2-win team. This isn't a 3-win team. We're going to at least go bowling this year. We're going to vie for a Sun Belt East Division title. So there are some boxes that I would like to see checked. At the very top of that is I'd love to see a win. I'd love to shock the world. I would love to put ripples in the pool. And, for all those arguments that big NIL and big transfers and all that stuff, that guys like Marshall can still go into a place like Athens, Georgia and get a win. I mean, how shocking would that be? I know you don't want to see that. I don't blame you. But that would be a massive, massive story of the weekend. I want to keep it as close as I can. I would love to win the game if I can. But I need to see some signs that we are here to compete in our conference this year. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. One little thing, I hate to do this to KD, but Byron was in the NFL.
Oh, was
year.
he?
Yeah.
Who was the quarterback?
Stan Hill. It was 2004.
Really?
Yeah. 13-3, by the way.
13-3.
It was 7-3 after one quarter, 10-3 at half, and then in the fourth quarter, it was scoreless third quarter. In the fourth quarter, Georgia got a field goal to make it 13-3. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, this was 1 week after we went up to Ohio State, and at Ohio State, we lost 24-21, and we really, really should have won that game. Really should have. There were some special teams errors that late in the game, and then Mike Nugent kicked a 55-yard field goal that was good from 65 with no time on the clock to win that game. But to say all that, Marshall went up to Notre Dame and played number 8 Notre Dame at Notre Dame and beat them on the road. We went to Kansas State, number 6 at the time, when Darren Sproles was there. L. Roberson was there, but was sidelined for that game, and we beat them, number 6, on the road. We have played many games like that Georgia game, like that Ohio State game. There was a game at Tennessee where we had them on the ropes, and that very same quarterback, Stan Hill, blew his knee out on a touchdown celebration, and that changed the game. Marshall has a history of that. I'm not sitting here saying Marshall's going to come down and upset Georgia in this rapidly changing college football environment where the haves and the have-nots just continue to get further and further apart. But what I do hope, like KD said, is we'll come down there and at least put up things that we'll be proud of and that people across the nation will say that team played hard. Ohio State said that last year before they pulled away in the second half, and that's what I hope for here. If I had to gun to my head, put a score prediction out, I would say it's around the 42-14 range. Listen, man, 5 touchdowns and a field goal is a lot to be better than somebody else, and that wouldn't cover the spread at 39.5. So I'm really confident with saying the spread will cover. Would love to see us put up 2 to 3 touchdowns and really give us some confidence going into the rest of the season.
How about you, KD? What's your prediction?
Well, first off, I got to say I apologize to Stan Hill. I didn't mean to short sight you there. I was thinking of. I remember Byron went to
Florida,
Gainesville, and played the Gators. So that's what I was confusing the two games. But anyway, I was kind of in the same thought process as Russ. I feel like it's in that 42-17 type thing. You guys just have a whole lot of talent, and we're probably going to be outmatched at every position or most positions, right, at any given time. But that being said, they don't play the games on paper. You still have to beat the man across from you. And Marshall's gutsy, and they've got something to prove. And with all the offseason noise, they want to have as strong of a showing as possible in Athens, Georgia. And it just feels like a 42-17, a 42-21 type thing for me, covering the spread, giving me some positivity and the fan base some positivity moving forward to think that every other game on the schedule is absolutely winnable.
All right, I can see that. Yeah, I'll make mine. Mine's gave Russ on his previous podcast. I'm going to say I can see you guys scoring early, making it interesting, like 10-7 first quarter, maybe even to the second, because Georgia, even last year, we would get so frustrated. We start really, really slow. I don't know if it's Mike Bobo's offense, but it'll be close. But I think in the second half, though, we just got more talent. we'll have the crowd going and just the environment. But I'm going to say 45-10. Definitely we won't cover, but I'm going to say somewhere in there we could get a late touchdown, to make it 45-10. But hopefully we'll get some of our young guys in, maybe even see the backup quarterback, Ryan Puglisi. And I want to see Gunnar Stockton be good, clean game, run the offense, get a lot of confidence in them. So I'm going to say 45-10 Georgia. But it'll be close in the first half. I can see that. Yeah, wanted to look at your schedule coming up here, and just to get to know Marshall and their tradition and everything. Who's your biggest rival?
That's a great question.
Weird question, right?
Yeah,
weird question.
We are 3 seasons into the Sun Belt Conference, so we've got new conference foes, even though we brought over a couple with us. But JMU has become our rival over these last 3 years, in my opinion. We have had no time that the home team has won. We've gone down there twice and beat them. We had an absolute classic game for the last game of the season this year, or last season, where we were down 17-0 at halftime, and we came back and won that game and just tell the two halves. And then they are kind of close to what we did. They won a couple of national championships at the now FCS level, and then moved up and had some immediate success. And also their head coach that won one of those national championships was Mickey Matthews, who was a defensive coordinator here at Marshall, and left to go down to a school named Georgia with our head coach. Our head coach left from Marshall to Georgia. Are you familiar with that in 96?
Man, that was the I don't know if that might have been the Jim Donnan years.
That's Jim Donnan. Jim Donnan. Jim Donnan was an amazing. Right. He was an amazing coach here. Won a national championship here at the 1AA, now FCS level. Mickey Matthews was his defensive coordinator. He went to Georgia, and then from Georgia became the head coach at JMU. So there's a lot of different things there. Not too far away, 4.5 hours between the two, and of course, way back in the Southern Conference days, and a renewed rivalry now is App State. We always played them a lot. Played them in some playoff games. They gave us some of our rare losses at home when we opened up our stadium in 1991. I think they had 2 of the 5 losses that we had in the first, 15 years, something like that. Yeah, but anyway, there's some history with both of those schools. But I thought that'd be appropriate to mention Jim Donnan and Mickey Matthews leaving Marshall to go down to head up the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think if you had to have me pick 2, I would lean towards James Madison. Those have just been great games. James Madison's a team that doesn't lose at home, and Marshall's gone down and beat them twice in the last 3 years. They beat us at home, and they're looking to do that again this year. They've just been really fun games. Their fans are great. They treat us well when we go to Harrisonburg. We treat them well when they come to Huntington. So just a good growing rivalry. So. Those things are going to take another decade before they really get going. But here early on, 3 years into the Sun Belt era, I'd say James Madison.
Okay, cool. Also, I want to mention I am a Georgia Southern grad, so you guys played them last game of the year, so that's interesting.
Yeah, they got one from us last year. So.
Yeah, got one.
But luckily, they kind of let it slip at the end of the season, and we ended up in the conference championship game, and they did not.
There you go. What would you say is your must win, or the ones you got it circled, like got to have that win this year? What's your must win on the schedule?
All of them? No. We talked about this a little bit.
Be Alabama. Give me Alabama finally, and I'd be happy.
I think if we could pencil one, this is me personally, that James Madison game at home, that would be big, because everyone across the country is picking them to win the Sun Belt Conference. So if we won at home versus them, and even though it's not on 75 week, which is the week that we honor those that perished in that crash back in 1970 and wiped out the entire team, but also fans, boosters, administrators, coaches, things like that. I mean, the entire team. We are playing them in the 75 game this year is James Madison playing us at home. So with that budding rivalry, with them being picked to win the Sun Belt Conference East and the conference overall, and I think that would be a must win for me.
Yeah, that's where I was leaning to. If it's a home game, it's got to be James Madison for those reasons. But if it's an away game, oddly enough, I think I'm going to lean towards Georgia State because that's actually the 75-week game. The anniversary is going to roll around, and we're on the road this year, which is an absolute travesty. So it's always in that middle of November, no matter who's on the schedule. Whatever game is closest to November 14th, that is the absolute must-win game for Marshall University and Herd fans because they don't want to lose that week. And historically, we do not. Even in a down year, we seemingly do not. So always a cool game to tune in and watch the things that go on that whole week and watch the pregame for that particular game. If the Dogs aren't playing at the time when that's going on, it's one worth tuning in and checking out. That's pretty cool stuff.
Okay, good deal. And then how about, I guess, multi-question here, successful year, maybe at a realistic bar for your record, and then I'll maybe on the half glass full if the bottom fell out. What's the record prediction for each one of those?
We just did this on our show, and nothing has really changed for me. A lot of times I see something different or I think about something different and it might change for me. I think this is an 8-win team. I think Marshall's an 8-win team. When you look at that schedule, there are 8 wins that you can easily find. The basement for me is a 5-win team. This is not a wheels fall off scenario. They brought in a lot of talent, and I expect a lot of it to work against a lot of the teams that we have to play. So in an absolute, wheels fall off scenario, outside of everybody that you need to stay healthy getting injured, this is a 5-win at worst team. A good season to me is 8, and the ceiling actually isn't that much higher. I think this as a ceiling is a 9-win team.
Yeah, I've got realistic. I think around 7-5 going to a bowl, and bottom falling out. The floor 5-7, 5-7, and then I along with KD. I mean, it would be a travesty to not make a bowl game, but there are people all across the country. Not a lot of them are people that you should listen to, but they're saying 2-10 winless in the Sun Belt Conference. Things that they're gleaming only from a headline that said Marshall's entire team transferred to Southern Miss, which is not exactly true. A lot of them did, but not a lot of the starters and the impact players. It seems to me like we're at least a 500 team. We are at least a 500 team. I think that we'll do a little bit better than that, but not much worse than that.
Yeah.
I like that. Very, very realistic YouTubers there. I like that. I come down here 11-1. Georgia's the only one. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually in those 7 wins, I've got us beating Georgia. So I'm as realistic as it gets.
Yeah,
all right.
we try to be.
There you go. Appreciate that. And then how do we follow you guys on social media and everywhere?
Well, of course, you can see under my name there on the X handle is @Thundercast_pod. Of course, that's the same on YouTube. Russ handles the Facebook side of things. Our biggest social media presence is on X and Facebook. We don't dive too much into Instagram. It's just a lot to kind of keep up with. And of course, all the episodes are published on our YouTube channel. Some are YouTube exclusives at times. And you can find the show across every major podcasting outlet like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and all of that. We're really, really easy to find. If you see the logo, you've got the right guys. Give us a follow. Listen to the show. We love to interact with out-of-state opposing fans. And I'll tell you this: if there's ever a scenario I don't foresee one where Georgia comes to Huntington and plays.
Next year.
But if there's a scenario where you, Trey, find yourself in Huntington to catch a game, the Thundercast always puts on a huge tailgate right behind the huge video board in the end zone, and it is always free for all Herd fans and opposing fans. We are a great place to just hang before the game. You never know who you'll see at a Thundercast tailgate, and I do mean that honestly. You just never know who will be there. Russ, what did I leave out?
I think that's it. That's where to find us. KD is going to be a guy that he runs the podcast handle, and he's going to be a guy that will interact with people all day, every day, and there's posts all day, every day. On our Facebook, it's mainly just posting the links to our content and things like that. You don't have a whole lot of discussion over there. But if you want to interact with me for some reason, my handle is @RussLivingGood with 1 S, 1 G. And I'm over on Twitter as well.
Yeah, definitely check those guys out on the Thundercast. I got 794 subscribers, getting close to that 1,000 subscribers. And then also very impressive, you guys have almost 9,500 followers on.
Almost. We're getting there.
Good, man.
But I don't mean, I'm not trying to take control of your show here, but I got to do one thing before.
Sure.
If you're about to wind this down, which it feels like we're going to, I got to say, I want to give a shout out, if he happens to listen, to Georgia strength and conditioning coach, director of strength and conditioning, Scott Sinclair. He's been with you guys for a long time, and he came to Georgia from Marshall. He left the Herd to come to Georgia. Scott is still very well respected in Huntington, West Virginia. He is a friend to a lot of the guys that we know because they lived in Huntington, and actually our sons played Little League together. And I got to know Scott a little bit during that year when our boys were playing Little League together. And of course, this is well over a decade ago now, but I always pull for you guys because Scott's there. You know, and that's how cool of a guy he was to me personally. And some of our friends that were his neighbor, still talk about him and how cool he and his family were.
They actually go down, the neighbor that he's talking about, that's our friends, go down to Georgia games every now and then. They're Georgia fans, and they go down and with Scott, after the game, down, say hi to him at the field level and everything. Scott lived in my neighborhood and then went down there. Yeah.
So I wish you guys all the best of luck in every game but one.
That's right.
But I just wanted to say hey to Scott, in case he happens to be listening, that folks in Huntington still think about him and appreciate all the hard work he did getting the Herd prepared to win a conference championship that year.
That's awesome. Yes, Scott Sinclair's been definitely a blessing for Georgia. And, you can kind of see it in the trenches. I've been told recently, or they've been reporting, this is one of the best looking, as you know. They might look like Tarzan, tackle like Jane, but they look the part this year, and I think that's a lot to his strength and conditioning and hard work he puts into the program. So, I really appreciate it. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
There's ties everywhere, man.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, appreciate you guys coming on again. Make sure and, again, check out the Thundercast. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, check out the Doghouse podcast. This is the first of many this year. We're going to have usually someone from the college huddle or opposing team be as an interview on the Doghouse podcast. So, really appreciate everyone coming on today.
Dope, man. Thanks for having us. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.